Hey, welcome to How to Build a Resume with your host, Zach Wepper. In this session, we're going to go over how to build a resume from scratch, utilizing both Microsoft Word and Google Docs. All right, so let's go ahead and jump in. I'm going to share my screen. All right, so we're going to start with Microsoft Word, and there's a few different ways that you can do it. And I'm just going to show sort of the overview template. All right, so let's start with contact, work experience, let's say education, and volunteer experience. Now, this is just for demonstration purposes. Obviously, you can include more sections or different sections if you'd like. This is one way you can do it, and it's a little bit manual because if you want to increase the spaces, you kind of have to do an enter, right? And it's quite manual to try and figure out like the spacing between everything. I'm going to show you a trick that I like to use, and that's by inserting a table. So just insert table, and I'm going to start by doing a one column table. And you can see we can just click and drag and bring all these things into the different rows. And the reason that I like to do this is because it becomes a lot easier to manipulate the spacing. So if I want to increase spacing here, I can. Additionally, if I want to drag and drop the table and move it around, that's easy to do as well. Now, if you want to have two columns, I actually really like to have two columns, and I'm going to show you how to build that out from scratch. So we're going to go to Insert, Table, and again, we can pick as many columns, as many rows as we want. I'm just going to do two columns with two rows. So again, we can do contact, work experience, let's say education, and volunteer experience. Now, again, the advantage here is it's really easy to click and drag and figure out your spacing, not only from bottom to top or top to bottom, but also from left to right. So maybe education, you don't want to give quite as much space and you want to focus more on the spacing for like work experience. So it might be easier to do it from left to right. Now, sometimes maybe you only want to have two columns and not as many rows. And if you want to do that, it can help with the spacing out. Again, it's a little bit manual, but all you have to do is delete rows. Or if you want to add rows back in, you come in here and you can insert below or above. I'll do below here, and you can do that as well. Now, at the end of creating your resume, you probably don't want to have the outlines in the resume box. So all you need to do is right click, come down to table properties. I'm going to click on that. Borders and shading. And right now we've got all. Instead of all, let's go to none. Hit OK and OK, and they've disappeared. Now there's an even faster way of doing that. All I have to do is click in the box, and up here, there's a little drop down, and you can see we can add all sorts of different borders. So if I wanted to do all borders, and it looks like I probably need to highlight, but we could do here, all borders, and again here, no borders. So that's another quick way of doing it. Last but not least, I'm going to show you how to do adjust your margins, because sometimes you want more space or less space. So if we come into layout and margins in the top left-hand corner, right now the margins you can see they're 1 inch from top to bottom and left to right. Well, if we wanted to change them to 1/2 inch, we do that. And if we want in here, just for this purpose, I'm going to highlight this stuff. Come back to home, and we'll make this all so you can kind of see where the margins are going. So layout, margins. If you want custom margins, you can come in instead of 0.5, maybe I wanted to do 0.65. 0.65. Okay. And we can see it's adjusted the margins. Okay, so that's the overview of how to do it in Microsoft Word. And again, the advantage of using a table is it's easier to click and drag and move things around. Now, let's switch over to Google Docs. And a lot of the principles are very much the same. So I'm going to show you how to insert a table. Let's do like this. And we can do contact, say work experience, and education. And instead of volunteer, I'll say hobbies, just to mix it up a little bit. It would help if I spelled this right. There we go. Okay. So again, same principle. I can click and drag, move things down, and move them from left to right. The advantage of using one row with two columns is if I need to have more space for, or let's say less space for contact, but I want more space for education, then I can do that. So that's sort of the advantage there. And let's say after hobbies, I wanted to do volunteer after hobbies. Then again, I just need to create more spacing. So that's how you do the tables. And again, if you want to right click, table properties, here you can see the table border is at 1 point. We're going to move it to 0, hit OK, and you can see that the table disappeared. So that's one way of getting rid of the table. All you have to do is right click, table properties, go back to 1 point, or whichever point you want, hit OK. All right, now we're going to go to change the margins inside of Google Docs. You're going to go File, Page Setup, and here you can see the margins are set to 1, 1, 1. And if I wanted to change that, let's say 0.75 this time. 0.75. Do it again, and one last time. We're gonna hit OK. And you can see the margins change here a little bit. I'm gonna hit Control Z to undo what I did. And you can see where it's sort of moving around. And again, the advantage here is you can drag things and it just gives you a little bit more control. So that's how you create a resume from scratch, utilizing Microsoft Word and Google Docs. Thanks.